All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Women's Wisdom and Wellness Summit. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Dr. Sisi. I'm your co-host and moderator, and my co-host Alysia Love and I will be taking care of you today. We have an exciting and powerful lineup of female speakers here to share their wisdom in business and wellness with you throughout the day. So, a little bit about myself. I'm a physician anesthesiologist with specialized training in chronic pain from Stanford University. And I founded Her Pain Coach, which is a pain coaching service to help women with chronic pain transform their relationship with pain while expanding their resilience, confidence, and well being. And during my entrepreneur journey, I felt like something was missing as I was navigating the world of business, which can feel very masculine at times, especially with all the messaging about doing more and producing more that just didn't feel very kind or balanced. And what I discovered was missing was having conversations with other heart-led women entrepreneurs and conversations on how to be grounded in our feminine, balancing the feminine, masculine, and discussing how to lead as a woman in business. So I created a mastermind group of women entrepreneurs just a few months ago to do just that. And we loved our conversations so much, and we loved the soul connection of the group so much that we wanted to bring our conversations to a broader audience. So that's why we created this summit so that any woman can be part of these powerful and deep conversations that we've been having. And we're so excited for you to experience what we've created. And now I'm going to pass this off to Alysia to make some statements about navigating Zoom today.
Thanks, Sisi. Hi, everyone. My name's Alysia Love, and I'm going to be managing all the Zoom everything. So if you see my face like super close to the screen, it's because I'm like trying to figure out how to navigate Zoom and just make sure that this all goes really smoothly. Let's see. Some things, what else do I want to share? Just a little bit about my background. Like I'm a leadership coach and I help women entrepreneurs to build amazing big businesses. And yeah, I've been part of Sisi's group and it's so fun. We're so happy to be here. And then some notes about just Zoom etiquette and navigating Zoom. If you're not speaking, please make sure that you're on mute. If you look at, I think it's for everyone that the like menu kind of to navigate Zoom is at the bottom. There's a little microphone to mute yourself and unmute yourself, your video to turn your video on and off. To get the most out of this call, we would love to have you be on video if you are able to, so we can see your face and connect with you. And if you are moving around a lot, like you can turn your video off, if the movement might be distracting. Just letting everyone know we are recording this call. We're going to edit the recording so that, during the Q&A, if anyone shares anything, personal or intimate, like we will cut that out. But the recording of the panel speakers and the workshops, we will be sending a recording to everyone here and everyone who registered, and possibly using some of the recording material for future promotional like material. Just letting you know that there's a chat feature here in Zoom that is enabled. So if the speakers are asking you questions or to, give responses, you can write in the chat, your responses. Let's see what else. There's an ability to have like reactions and raise your hand. So at the bottom menu, there's a little heart and it says react, and there's a little up arrow with that. Or maybe, no, sorry, just click the heart arrow. Yeah. And you are able to raise your hand, if you have questions or you want to share something. So there will be designated Q&A times. Let's see what else. I'm just reading through my notes. I want to make sure I get everything. And if you're, this is kind of a long call, so if you are planning to be here just for parts, you can, come and go if you need to, but if you just need to leave for a little bit, you can just mute yourself and put your video off and just, keep your device in the meeting. Let's see. I think that's everything. Is there anything else I'm missing, Sisi?
I think you got it covered.
Okay.
Thank you, Alicia.
Awesome.
All right. So next, we're going to move on to our guided meditation led by Karen Barbarick. And Karen will also make a statement about managing your wellness during the day.
Okay, So first I just want to presence us to the miracle that we are here together. So just in your mind, if you can just conceive of the 9 billion people on the planet, and then even half of those people as being women, and then the miracle that this group has come together, that we don't, a lot of us, I've just met most of these women. So that right there is a miracle happening right now. And like really take that in because this is a moment of creation that we are participating together. So just take a big breath and maybe close your eyes or not. It really doesn't matter. And breathe in that life force, sharing the breath, the life force with each other in this moment. Like spirit brought us here. It was a conversation that arose into a summit, and now we have these beautiful people together. And we can be emptied out of our own self, so to speak, all of our identities and, whatever we cling on to, we can just become empty and experience this innate life force that is coming through and co-creating. So, with curiosity, take another big breath, like, wow. And as you exhale, just right underneath your seat, send down some roots, like deep into the earth. Let those roots travel and really hook in. And here we are with our little heads in a box, still connected. And you can imagine in this place together, in this box, that you are surrounded by your favorite flowers. And they're beautiful and in season and smelling just so organically rich. And as that root goes down, I want you now just place your attention in your heart. This beautiful spot that integrates polarities, that feels compassion and nurturing, and that is moved by the creative force. And the heart center of your body is the center of your magnetic field. And like attracts like. So here we are, setting this beautiful intention, and we don't know what the heck is going to come out of it. How fun is that? We are just here showing up and creating our beautiful expressions of ourself, emptying. So, for whatever it is that you've come to receive today, whether it be knowledge or community, or just something to do for today, maybe curiosity or support of this feminine, know that the stars are aligned. Absolutely 100%. And they're aligned for change and transformation and for a new paradigm. And it's not new feminine, it's ancient feminine. In this ancient feminine archetype that is arising in this solid container of women right here is presenting herself in this year, 2026, on this day of June 27th, at the address that you're at the place that you're sitting, right here, right now, 100%. We are here for each other. Go ahead and take another breath into your heart. And as I am just like overflowing with gratitude, I extend gratitude out to all of you, and you can all extend your gratitude to us in this container. Just for a moment, take one more big breath and exhale completely, and the path moves forward for us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. That was beautiful. All right, we're going to move on to our first panel of the day. So this is a panel on the feminine versus masculine approach to business and wellness. And the speakers we have are Karen, Emma, Bronwyn, and Joanne. And I'm going to introduce each of them one by one. So let's start by spotlighting Karen. So Karen Barbarick has more than 25 years of experience in the healing arts. She is a seasoned intuitive medicine practitioner, a holistic entrepreneur, and founder of Blending Blade Healing Arts. Karen helps individuals uncover the root causes of physical, emotional, and spiritual imbalance. And as an elder in the field, she brings a wealth of wisdom gathered from decades of diverse practices, including intuition medicine, neurolinguistic programming, and Ayurvedic techniques. And beyond her clinical practice, Karen is a world record-setting athlete and a former reality TV contestant, experiences that have forged her resilient and vibrant spirit. And today, she continues to empower clients globally through Blending Blade Healing Arts, offering a compassionate space for trauma healing, emotional clearing, and the discovery of one's own healthy body blueprint. Next, let's spotlight Emma Anderson. So Emma Anderson is a business consultant specializing in spa and wellness operations. After successfully launching Casita Bodywork in 2021, a private sports recovery practice in Los Angeles, Emma transitioned to working with a professional athlete in the NBA, G League, and high-profile clientele after moving to San Diego in late 2025. And while on maternity leave, she took advantage of a clear schedule to pursue passion projects that include volunteering with various organizations and providing personal development and business mentorship to young women. Emma has recently begun training as a death doula and will have an opportunity to merge her unique experience in folk spirituality, bodywork, and bedside caregiving to be a part of the hospice mission of providing patients with dignity and dying. Next, we're going to spotlight Bronwyn Oschliger. So Bronwyn Oschliger is a sold-out events mastery strategist, speak-to-sell mentor, and belief breakthrough coach who helps mission-driven coaches, healers, and thought leaders transform their presentation into meaningful client relationships and produce sold-out events. Her work sits at the intersection of faith, human design, and practical speaking strategy. And by combining speaking strategy, mindset work, and personal alignment, she empowers mission-driven entrepreneurs to create greater impact through their message on stage. Bronwyn is also the author of The Key to Success, the Mastermind Principle for Mission-Driven Speakers and Event Leaders, and she's the creator of the Stage Ready Speaker course. Next, we're going to spotlight Joanne. Joanne Castano is an embodied leadership coach, relational integration facilitator, Reiki practitioner, and the founder of Radical Emergence. With more than 15 years of experience in leadership, personal development, and transformational work, she guides women in cultivating emotional awareness, reconnecting with their inner authority, and transforming inherited patterns into lasting change through embodied leadership, nervous system regulation, relational integration, and holistic healing. And as a Puerto Rican and Colombian woman, mother, and community leader, Joanne is passionate about helping people reconnect with their inner authority, cultivate emotional awareness, and creating lasting change that extends beyond themselves into their families, communities, and future generations. So as you can hear, we have a very powerful panel of women, and now we're going to move on to the discussion. So we're going to start with Karen. Karen, can you give us a brief history of women in healthcare and how you found your way to the healing arts and Ayurveda?
So first I want to just highlight this picture. And so all of you just take a really good look at this picture. Okay, because this is symbolic. You know, we're talking about the feminine. And if we look at her, we can see what the feminine does. We look at nature and that gives us a definition of what nature does. And so she holds space. She holds space for this baby to be nurtured. She's an environment in herself. She's doing what is innate to the feminine body. And she's intuiting in her conversations with this baby. And so it means so much to me, but for all of you, it means what it means to you. And it's a symbol that we all share together as mothers, as sisters, as daughters. And it just, it's so symbolic of the bloodline. So for whatever it means to you, I want you to just get a really good picture in your mind, get sensation of her in all of her glory, doing what she does. And now I'm focusing on the healing arts because that's what my business has been, but you can apply what I have to say toward whatever your business is in just about any area of work or life or home. But since the beginning of time, women have been healers. We were doctors, we were midwives, we were spiritual guides, and our circles were the first libraries. We gathered to exchange remedies and wisdom and protocols in healing. We were the keepers of the hearth as well as the health. But history shifted. And in the early 1300s, universities solidified their grip on science. And there became a systemic exclusion of the feminine. In fact, so much so that the European witch trials, they weren't just about superstition. These witch trials were about a marginalization of feminine intuition and empirical observation-based healing. For centuries, women were barred from the halls of knowledge, and we were labeled as heretics. And yet the demand never went away. We continued. And when wars ravaged the land, great minds came up, like Clara Burton, the originator of the Red Cross. She was called the angel of the battlefield. Or Dr. Rebecca Crumpler, who was an amazing force, the first African-American Black doctor who fought against racism and sexism to provide medical care for those that were in need and less advantaged. So that brings me to my story, which is a background in a masculine-dominated field of off-road vehicle racing, and Sisi brought it all out, what I have done in my past. And it drove me to a point where I got sick. And in that is where I found Ayurvedic medicine as a healing modality. And what I love about Ayurveda is that Ayur means life and Veda means science. So it is part of the life sciences, which is a spiritual practice of how do we live in accordance with nature and natural law. And so my time is up, but we are going to continue this conversation on this Ayurvedic message of for health to happen, we must have an environment for that to become possible. So now I will pass it on to the next.
Thank you, Karen. So the next question is going to be for Bronwyn. So Bronwyn, you're an entrepreneur and a speaking coach, and you're helping people add structure to their business and operating in this masculine structure as a feminine entrepreneur. What are your thoughts on helping these feminine, heart-centered entrepreneurs in healthcare to balance their feminine and masculine?
I actually have had some conversations with some of my female entrepreneur clients in the last couple of days that really add so much clarity to what I wanted to bring to the table today. So look at this woman in this picture. Her body is protecting something precious, and she's created this environment in her feminine body to be able to birth something. But the fact is, there is masculine structure inside her body. Her ribs, her bones, right? And without it, she wouldn't be able to carry this baby at all. She wouldn't have her hips cradling it, right? And this is how I see and how I invite you to see your business structure. So the business by nature is structure. It is system. It makes it so that you can say, I'm selling this thing. We take money like this, and then we fulfill like this. That's the structure of your business. But the feminine gets to come in and flow within that structure. And you as a woman, as operating in, the majority of your energy is feminine energy. And we get feeling kind of weird and uncomfortable when we get into too heavy in the masculine energy in our actually operations or the dancing in our business. So what I want to say though is because we try to get away from the masculine structure a little too much, and it explains why, those are where the gaps always are for my clients. There's always, I don't have this bridge that takes people from here to here in place. I don't have clarity on how to dance over that bridge. I'm not sure how I'm going to speak to somebody and frame this vision that I'm trying to paint for somebody so that I can take them all the way from here to here. So my invitation in this conversation is to invite you to value the masculine frame that is inherent to you, and also the masculine frame that is inherent to your business, and honor it. Those pieces get to be there, even as you are dancing and operating in a very feminine way. And I have no idea how much time I have left. So
you got 2.5 minutes.
Do I? Okay. I feel like I was like really succinct. So let me give you an idea of where I see the biggest gap there and how to operate in the feminine with it. So business by nature is sales, right? It's money exchange. And that is more of a masculine thing, or the structure around it is the thing that makes it so that it can happen. If you choose to create a framework that is how you talk to people to discover their gaps, then when you're talking to somebody in a sales conversation, it's very clear what you're doing and what gaps you fill, but you're finding out what their gaps are, right? So you're dancing within that structure to, in a heart-centered, empathetic way, take them from point A to point Z. And in a healing business, we are heart-centered people. We want to help people feel comfortable and be empathic as we're doing this kind of thing. And what I just feel that it's important to recognize that that there's a place for everything. And I'm trying not to come in with too much story, but it's so hard because I'm a storyteller. But I was talking to somebody yesterday who was struggling with this piece that is the receiving the money part. That's her feminine. That's the feminine part of this whole thing, is just the receiving of the dollars, right? The receiving of the client and bringing them in and having that energetic exchange be pure. And it was just because she had this little gap in her structure that was keeping the feminine flow from actually being able to happen. So in just being kind of general, again, look at this woman. She has this structure, her bones. She has taken something and she's multiplying it and giving it back. And that's exactly what your business is doing as a female entrepreneur. So with that, I will pass it back to you, Sisi.
Thank you, Bronwyn. So now I'm going to move on to Emma. So Emma, I'm going to ask you to share with us your journey of balancing the feminine and masculine as an entrepreneur.
Thanks, Sisi. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Thanks so much for taking taking time out of your weekend to come spend some time with us. I love this picture and this group, our panel, feminine versus masculine. What I do is I help business owners, specifically startups that have no business background or some business background. I take their ideas and I put them into systems and I organize them into protocols that help take time and put it back into your day. So feminine versus masculine. Very simply, feminine for me in the energy is to give, nurture, anything of that nature. Masculine for me is take. That's how it comes up for me. And that is how business is structured. Now, I like to tell my clients, there's no way you can do business development without personal development. And having that aspect of honoring your divine feminine is so important, right? We operate on a monthly cycle. Men operate on a 24-hour cycle. So the way we have to approach business in our lives, that system has to honor the system that is within us, which is our menstrual cycle. That is what ebbs and flows with the hormones. So being able to really let go and trust the process, that's very feminine, right? The trusting, that's giving trust. I have all these great notes in business boundaries. But for example, the picture brings up for me last year in business. I am the owner and creator of Casita Bodywork. I do have more of a physical therapy approach combined with almost like a sensory deprivation feel, right? You want to feel like you're home. I want people to feel the ease in their nervous system before they get to the appointment, preferably right after they book. So last year was my most successful year, and I was also pregnant the entire time, and it was crazy. One of my goals was to hit a $10,000 in revenue month, and I surpassed that. I saved over $15,000 to fund my own maternity leave because I had not qualified for the program I'm supposed to be into in California. And that's a masculine right there. And I think I needed to put myself in that taking because I was so heavily in the feminine, pregnant with my son, Oliver. And the years prior, I had made the shift that I was ready to lose the fear around putting in the work and the fear and embarrassment of maybe I don't understand certain things. And I hired a business coach and we planned out this maternity upcoming project, essentially, is how I looked at it. Very project manager, again, very masculine because the feminine was already doing its thing. And I just sunk into that consistently. And at the time, I had been doing a recovery program for people who struggle with healthy, loving relationships. And being able to work with a mentor that was able to hold space for me was so important. And my business consultant was able to do the same. It was slow, gentle, and listen. I felt heard. And I think in our communities as women, being heard and seen is so important. And that's why this mentorship community, all of it is so important. So again, falling back on the processes that were created before I was pregnant, about a year and a half, just letting it go and trusting the process, and of course working hard. That was tough. It was uncomfortable, but I love what I do, and I loved serving my community. So being able to do that was very empowering because it felt like it was this intersection of this heavy masculine I've always led with, that was my sword, now my shield, balanced with the ultimate feminine for me, which was experiencing pregnancy and now motherhood. And I just have such a passion to bring that out of any woman that's ready to take that step.
Thank you, Emma. And now we're going to move on to Joanne. Joanne, tell us about your life story and your journey with balancing the feminine and masculine in business and wellness.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Yes, I'll speak briefly on that. I have a very mixed cultural background, two different Latin cultures, and Puerto Rican and Colombian, and two different dialects. On top of, I also learned English. And so my whole upbringing has been a life of translating everything that happens in my life, not just my voice, and how much my voice was important, as well as being able to speak, to understand, and to translate what's happening, not only around me, but also to my loved ones. And that journey has that kind of role has stayed with me throughout my upbringing, and how all the different environments have informed how I show up, how I speak, and how I lead my life. And growing up with multiple, let's say, narratives from different cultures, from different society backgrounds, that could get a little complicated. And so as I began in my workforce journey, I learned, not just working in medicine, actually caring for women who are carrying babies, but also going from that to a more holistic place in my life. I realized that, there's different approaches to life, and how do I define the approach that I want to take to my life, given that I've been flooded from all of these different environments, on what is the proper way to not just lead my life, but what defines success. And so one thing I would have everyone look at is to really just understand who taught you what success is supposed to look like, and why is that important? Was it your family, your culture, education, a previous workplace? Trying to define what that is going to be the most important thing right now, because if you don't have that, you are now being informed by that, and that can be informed more masculine led or more feminine led. Not that we're wanting to do one more than the other, but more of what actually does success mean to you? What is your definition of that, given your current lifestyle, given where you're at, and how you want to navigate forward? Some of our environments have taught us really that our worth is from what we produce. Others have taught us to stay quiet. Others have taught us to overachieve just to feel like we belong. Others teach us how to carry everyone else's needs before our own, and to be more of servitude. Not that we don't want that, but there's a balance. And the whole point of bringing this forward is, as a first generation Puerto Rican and Colombian woman, I've experienced how culture can be passed down, both incredible resilience, but also unspoken expectations on what success should look like for me. Excuse me. And I'm deeply grateful to the sacrifices the previous generations had made for me, of women who came before me. But at the same time, I want to ask myself, do any of these beliefs or my way of being come from, do they still serve me? And who am I ready to release? Like, which ones am I ready to release? So for many of us women, we especially navigate multiple cultures, career, leadership roles. We learn to adapt. We become achievers, caretakers, problem solvers. We learn to push through. And so to prove ourselves really in an environment that's more masculine led, or to productive or relevant to keep going. But our bodies are asking us very fiercely a lot of times to slow down. And so some of the strategies that in the past have helped you survive or even succeed could be different than what is going to serve you moving forward when you have a better balance, I would say, in the masculine feminine polarity, and understanding where you are in that, so that you can see what is dominating and how you show up, so we're not over functioning and over exhausting ourselves, and we're also listening to what's beautiful about the feminine as well, the intuition, but still with the masculine energy of structure, direction, healthy boundaries, discernment, excuse me, and the ability to take action. So the challenge for many of us is that we're taught that it's like one path to success. And so we've disconnected that from powerful feminine qualities and masculine qualities, and the feminine being intuition, presence, collaboration, creativity, compassion, emotional intelligence, and the ability to pause and listen before reacting. We can start to find that balance within and lead from those points, instead of what could be the survival pattern or the overfunctioning pattern or the highly functioning pattern. Whatever those are for each of us, we can examine. And as an embodiment leadership coach, I've learned that sustainable leadership isn't about just choosing one over the other. It's about integration. How do I integrate knowing when to act and then when to receive, and feel relaxed in each one at each moment, and when to lead with strategy or when to lead with wisdom, when we tend to push forward, and when we pause long enough to hear our bodies and what our bodies are asking us and what our values are, and our intuition is telling us, then there's an opportunity for us to look at, like, what is actually the direction we want to go. And so one question or one statement I always say is that what's not integrated gets inherited, and what is integrated becomes legacy, meaning you get to now change the future for yourself, and anyone around you that you lead, your communities, your children, etc. So some of these things I like to share because it has us begin to question the definitions of success that we've inherited from families, cultures, workspaces, society, and we get to create a space to choose differently, not just for ourselves, but for our teams, our families, our communities, the next generation of leaders. And so I'll leave you with this. What definition of success are you carrying that no longer belongs to you? And what becomes possible when you give yourself permission to lead from wholeness instead of survival?
Thank you,
Thank you.
Joanne.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. And that question is a perfect transition to our Q&A. So now we're going to move on to the Intuition and Nervous System Regulation Workshop with Karen Barbarick and Emma Anderson. So you two take it away.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Emma, and I am a body worker by trade and business owner, business consultant from that trade. One thing that I noticed that not only my clients, but myself feels is nervous at times. I get those kind of like Sunday scaries. I get the tight chest, the drop in the gut, the tight throat. And that usually seemed to happen towards the very beginning when I was exchanging services for money. I got nervous. I felt almost embarrassed and unworthy to receive compensation for the service I provided. And very quickly, I realized that business development is not possible without personal development. The concept of boundaries is something that is so important to not only learn for ourselves, that dovetails into other avenues. So you have boundaries for your physical capacity, mental capacity, for your workload, and time management is definitely a pillar of that. One of the the moments that shifted for me that made me realize that I needed to kind of dive a little bit more in that masculine side of things was when I would have people walk in and not want to pay a deposit, or they would just walk out at non-pay. And that led me to have some systems in place that weeded out clients that were not ideal to work with. Um, in order to do that, I needed to build stepping stones at my pace to make those decisions. And in order to do that, I needed to get out of my sympathetic nervous system and jump back into the parasympathetic, your fight or flight. So I have found that creating that moment of pause and breathing and almost body scanning, where is that tightness coming from? And just breathing into that seems to really help, and almost like a hard reset when you reset the iPhones. So breath work is something I myself am not as well versed as Karen is, and she's going to lead us in a really great meditation. But I think it's helpful to know that breath work is something that you can just pull out of your pocket when you need it, or you can make it a practice of self-care. And Karen is going to lead us through a chakra meditation, and I'm excited to participate.
Thank you. So first off, I just want to say, as well as being an Ayurvedic practitioner, I'm also a master of energy medicine. And a lot of times when people are feeling anxious, or they're feeling their doubt or fears arising, the quick response is, well, if I do more therapy, or if I change my diet, or if I, make that telephone call, there's always this thing that like, well, if I do this thing, then somehow I'm going to feel less anxious. I'm going to feel better, and that's usually not the case. So we're dealing with energy, and you can shift your energy quickly, um, mainly by getting out of the frontal lobe of your brain. A lot of the time we're stuck in our analyzer mind, which when we're constantly analyzing and ruminating, progress it is forced. So the feminine aspect is non-forcing. So what I want to do, the work that I love is giving people an experience of this transformation and this shift, because we can talk at you all day, but the work, like what Emma was saying, the personal development actually comes from doing the practice. And I don't know that I'm going to have time to get to all of the chakras. But I just want to bring us back to this place of fullness, based on everything that we've already talked about, that we are 100% all that we need to be in this now moment. And we forget that sometimes. So, wherever you are that you're sitting, I'd like to put this on gallery so I could see everybody. Wherever you are that you're sitting, go ahead and just close your eyes. Like, see how much spaciousness you can receive in that place behind your eyes. The empty, it shows you that, there's, in the void, sensation still exists. And then take a deep breath. But as you take that breath, feel it really coming in, and then hold your breath at the top. Like taking a moment, just filling to the brim, taking that animating force, that life force in, and then exhale through your mouth. And this is a nervous system regulating breath. It's great if your blood pressure goes up, breathing in through your nose and exhaling through your mouth, and feeling the stability of the ground underneath you. Because oftentimes that's what happens is we start feeling unstable, and through that instability, fear comes in. And when fear comes in, it's a trigger. We have our mechanisms. We've learned our patterns for dealing with that fear. And that's all that it is. So as you feel like the stabilizing force underneath you, Gaia, Mother Earth, drop into your heart. So I had a friend at lunch say to me, "What does it mean to rest in your heart?" So here we go. You just sit into your heart and feel its capacity. We talked about capacity today. And to recognize when the hard times come upon us, just as the good times come upon us, there's a stretching of our capacity in our heart. And as you drop down, take that 16-inch journey from the head down into the heart, notice, sense, see, hear the sound of your spirit. And, I hate to say it, but for most of us, we lose track of our spirit and where our spirit wants to take us because we get swept up and spun out. So when we drop into the heart, we are in our fullness and we are at the center of the hurricane where it's still. Now imagine that you're in there, maybe your inner child or your light body or however you observe yourself in your heart. And take this beautiful essence color of pearlescent white and gold and splash around in your heart, like push out the sides and above and below. And you can even drop down lower to the root of your heart, which is at your navel. And greet yourself as a spirit of light, and a spirit of love. And acknowledge yourself that you belong here. You were literally invited. You were planted like a seed. And you sprouted out from your mother. Whole and complete as you are. And we talked about ambition as driven by the model that we were given oftentimes. But when we rest in our heart and we greet our spirit, we may find it's moving in a direction different than where we might put our left foot and our right foot and be walking forward. And when this happens, mayhem arises, as I'm sure all of you have experienced that. And so this recentering and resting There's nowhere you need to go, nothing that needs to be done. We are full and complete as we are. See, it is in the center of the heart that integrates those polarities. It's where we learn to sit in the mundane. We get to set aside all of those dopamine and adrenaline rushes that we experience outwardly. Go ahead and take another deep breath. And as you exhale, I'm going to be quiet for 30 seconds. Ask yourself, how does the world feel to me? And how do I feel to the world? We want to stay away from using our frontal lobe to conjure up an answer. So I suggest you sit way back behind your eyes and way back behind your mind and rest in your heart and ask yourself, how does the world see me? And how do I see the world? And the language of the unconscious mind comes in a flash. It's a symbol or a sound or a song or a color. And coming back to an inquiry, ask yourself, how does the world hear me? And how do I hear the world? And let your spirit tell you. And take another big breath and a long exhale. And resting in your heart, acknowledging your inner wisdom, presence, slowing down the pace. Everything that you need is around you. In Ayurveda, they say the microcosm reflects the macrocosm. The macrocosm reflects the microcosm. All that you need is right around you. So behind your eyes and in your heart, give yourself a symbol. Be curious what symbol comes up to you. Maybe it's a song, maybe it's a phrase, maybe it's a color. And this is your energy medicine symbol. The beautiful thing about energy medicine is it's not about fixing anything. It's about gaining trust in your capacity and that you are already full and have everything you need. There's nowhere to go and nothing you need to do. So the pause and now feel your energy skin. Okay, so feel the space outside of your body. This is subtle energy. When we become equipped with feeling subtle energy, we start realizing not everything that we take in is ours. And we can just let stuff go. As humans, we become fused with roles and archetypes, personas, and they work for whatever we might need them for in the moment. But as I mentioned before, if you're stuck in analyzer mode, you miss the magic. So once again, sit back behind your mind and drop into your heart. Soften your jaw, soften all your cranial muscles. Soften your diaphragm and your belly. The present moment is happening right underneath your seat, and it never changes. I'm going to be quiet for the next 30 seconds. If the brain kicks in, analyzing, let it be there. Let everything be there. Invite it all to the party. All of you, the good, the bad, the parts that might have been rejected or stepped over, forgotten or lost. Allow all of you with no resistance. You belong by the mere fact that you have landed here on planet Earth. Perfect, whole, and complete as you are. So enjoy the ride. And now as we close, I just want to say, it's like a small practice, but it allows for your spirit to catch up to your body. We tend to let our bodies run away with us. We completely bypass the spirit. So my wish is that all of you can take 10 minutes out every day and just get quiet and sit with your spirit in the fullness of your heart. And remember to invite all of the parts of you to the party. Nobody is excluded. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. That was a beautiful meditation. I felt very grounded after that. All right, welcome back, everyone. Now we're going to move on to our second panel, running a health and wellness business in a new paradigm. And we have Dominique, April, and Emma, and I'm going to introduce each of them. So we're going to start with Dominique Chainee. So Dominique Chainee is a global branding and marketing strategist. She helps visionary founders bring their ideas to life through branding, marketing, digital strategy, and storytelling, and drawing on experience working with global brands, startups, wellness businesses, and purpose-led organizations. She specializes in creating meaningful connections between brands and the communities they serve. Her work sits at the intersection of strategy, creativity, and human connection, helping businesses grow in a way that feel both impactful and aligned. And as you can see, she also created our Zoom backgrounds, our slides, our landing page, and you can see an example of her beautiful work here. Next, we have Emma Anderson. Let's spotlight Emma. So Emma is a business consultant specializing in spa and wellness operations. After successfully launching Casita Bodywork in 2021, a private sports recovery practice in Los Angeles, Emma transitioned to working with professional athletes in the NBA G League and high-profile clientele after moving to San Diego in late 2025. While on maternity leave, she took advantage of a clear schedule to pursue passion projects that include volunteering with various organizations and providing personal development and business mentorship to young women. Emma has recently begun training as a death doula and will have an opportunity to merge her unique experience in folk spirituality, bodywork, and bedside caregiving to be part of the hospice mission of providing patients with dignity in dying. And next we have April Emanuelson. So let's spotlight April. April Emanuelson is a functional nutrition practitioner, a life coach, a national speaker, an author, a retreat host, a farmer, and a mom of three. She wears many hats and she is passionate about helping people create lasting health transformations. And known for making wellness simple and practical, she combines research-backed insights with personalized strategies that help individuals improve their health in ways that are sustainable, realistic, and tailored to their unique lives. Thank you, ladies, for being here. All right. Yeah. So we're going to start off with April discussing what it means to manage a business in a new paradigm and how it's been affected by the digital age. And she's also going to speak on how you integrate ancient wisdom and modern science in your healing work.
Thank you so much. Well, and also thank you everyone for staying tuned in. I think this is a particularly important conversation because we're actually in the middle of an incredible paradigm shift. So to define what it means to manage a business in this new paradigm and how it's been affected in the digital age, I really wanted to kind of first start with that we are in the middle of a great medical awakening. And I don't know that any of you realize that we've lived through an incredible shift. So I'm going to actually read from some notes because this is really important to preface and really kind of start to understand what's happening. Sorry, someone's not muted. Did you? Okay, got it. All right. So era one, basically most of us on this call probably haven't lived through era one. I did. So 1950 to 1980. For most of that 20th century, doctor was God. We didn't question prescriptions. We didn't Google our symptoms. You know, we sat in a paper gown, nodded our head, and filled whatever was written on the little pad. And medicine at that time was advancing at breakthrough pace. There was vaccines, antibiotics, surgical breakthroughs, and we trusted it completely because that trust was earned. It was life-saving. But it also made us passive. We handed our bodies over and said, you're the expert to doctors. Then there was era two, so 1990s to 2000s. This is kind of the crack in the foundation and when something shifted. The internet arrived. So did like massive amounts of information at the touch of a button. People started reading about the side effects of some of those drugs. Lawsuits emerged. We watched commercials end with 30 seconds of disclaimers. Opioid prescriptions skyrocketed and the overdose crisis followed. Antidepressants became more common than vitamins. And statins was kind of the gold standard for anyone over 50. People started asking, is this really the only option? And why do I feel worse? The chronic disease epidemic started in like type 2 diabetes used to be something that kids didn't get, right? It was only an old person thing. And so diabetes, autoimmune conditions, hormonal dysfunctions started becoming more of a way of life. And it wasn't going away despite all the medication. So there's quite a bit of growing frustration, and we began to start taking a look. So early era 3, they're saying, is 2010 to today. So the awakening. We're now living in what I like to think of as a great medical awakening. People aren't just questioning prescriptions; they're actively seeking root causes. They want to know why their bodies are struggling and not just how to suppress symptoms. The functional medical era has begun to fill waiting rooms. I'll share a little bit from my own experience with that. And then herbalism, the oldest medicine on the planet, is having a renaissance. We're taking adaptogens, medical mushrooms, elderberry, ashwagandha, milk thistle. I feel like it's in everything now, and even our coffee. And they aren't fringe ideas anymore. These are in mainstream groceries, backed by growing body of research and practiced by millions. And I love that, we're not anti-medicine. We are pro-wisdom. We're saying use every tool available, including the ones that our grandmothers knew and the ones that grew in the fields long before pharmaceuticals existed. So I really want to give you an invitation. The shift isn't fear against doctors. It's reclaiming agency over our own bodies and understanding that a pill can quiet a fire alarm, but only you can find where the smoke is coming from. And the future of health is where we are right now. And so we are very much a part of this. I'm going to check in on my time. So in 48 seconds, I'll share with you that I actually just, for the last 6 years, I've been working at a functional medical clinic. We're getting people off disability, backing them off of compounded prescriptions, and helping them understand the root cause of what they're going through and really giving them a choice in terms of, okay, this medication can help you, but so can this herb, so can this supplement, so can this lifestyle. And it's really inspiring to see people gain hope, clarity, and trust in their own bodies. And so I'm really excited. The way I'm integrating ancient wisdom is actually I'm growing my herbs in my garden. I'm learning all the things that plants can do for us, and I'm getting curious. Notice what you notice out in nature. It's calling to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, April. All right. Now we're going to move on to talking about growth and scaling, and we're going to have Dominique talk about lead generation.
Thanks, Sisi. And thank you, April. I think that was really interesting and eye-opening to hear the trajectory that we've been on and the eras that we're on now. It's a great starting point for me speaking about the digital age, the era that we're in now. And so we've had so many beautiful conversations about energy healing and the divine feminine. And so I want to drop us into the digital world that we live in now, which has impacted not just our personal lives and our mental health, but also our businesses and how we run them. And so for many of us here in the room who do run health and wellness businesses, we always talk about how do we get more clients? Growth and scaling is the challenge of this. It's the name of the game. And in a digital world, it can be really complicated. And so we start to ask a lot of questions, right? We start to ask, should I be posting more? Should I be growing my email list? Do I run ads? Should I be on TikTok? God forsake TikTok, right? And so I think it's tough. There's a lot going on out there. And I think sometimes we tend to forget that maybe that's not the right question. I think the right question we should be asking ourselves is, how do we start to build trust online with our digital footprint? And so if we skip to the next slide, I want to take you through what the reality of that looks like in the digital world. I think in an ideal picture, we maybe assume that people see a social media post, they like it, they maybe head over to your website, and when you have a new booking or you have a new conversion. But in reality, the customer journey is not linear. It's really a long-winded journey of discovery and trust and timing. And, I could spend the next couple minutes here talking you through all the different tactics of what it takes to get more leads. But I wanted to be a lot more intentional with talking about building trust, because I think really that's the most important piece here to the puzzle, is that with so many people out there trying to fight for space in the digital world, creating touch points that feel impactful and feel meaningful and is an extension of your energy, I think is truly what matters in the end. And so we say, I think in marketing, the thumb of rule or the average benchmark is that it takes a user a minimum of 7 touch points before they're ready to book or before they're ready to convert. And so if you think about these 7 touch points, where are you putting your time in, and how are you doing that? So in the next slide, we'll talk you through some of the pillars of attracting and converting new clients. And so instead of spreading yourself everywhere, how can you bring presence to what you do? Where are you showing up? And it's not just about showing up, again, like I said, everywhere, but where are you showing up consistently? How can you start to nurture those touch points and nurture those relationships so that people do see you? Second, and I think this is one of the most important pieces, especially when it comes to the digital footprint, is clarity. Once people do land on your website or get an email from you, can they answer these questions within 10 seconds? Who do you help? What problem do you solve? And why you? Can they answer that within 10 seconds? And if not, they're a confused customer. And unfortunately, confused customers don't convert, they scroll. And so we really want to make sure that these touch points are as clear as possible. And lastly, and most importantly, is trust. The underlying theme that we're talking about here through not just our digital, but our business in general. Our business is an extension of who we are, and the impact that we want to make on our communities and our collective. And so, are we giving them enough proof? Are we giving them enough stories, enough testimonials, enough examples of why you are the reason that you can help them through this next step? And so building confidence, earning trust consistently is going to be the key piece here. In when you look at your digital footprint and growing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. I have about 30 seconds left here. I mean, I think my final closing really to lead generation is, we're not necessarily just trying to convince strangers to buy. That's not what we're trying to do here. We're really trying to help the right people feel seen often enough so that when they are ready to purchase, they already know who to call. People are not going to convert or sign up or purchase just because you posted one social media post. They're going to do that because you've been showing up long before they were even ready to do so.
Thank you. Now, next, we're going to move on to April. And April, tell us about creating a business model for your healing services that grows and scales.
Yeah, well, I'll take you on my actual journey with this, right? So my journey to being a coach was out of a pain point where my son was really struggling. And I took him to a specialist. I myself had experienced something. I'll spare you the longer story, but I had experienced some health challenges myself, and didn't get the answers that I wanted at a traditional doctor. Ended up going to a naturopath and got some deeper answers, which was life-saving in my experience at the time. And then my son had even more issues. So we're going to get into the gut health portion of our event today, and you're going to understand a little bit more. But we actually pass on our microbiome to our kids, and so I had a compromised gut, and he had an even more compromised gut. And so I flew him to a specialist that had her MD, her naturopathic degree, and her doctorate in physical chemistry. And what she taught me, I was just blown away by. And so I just kind of started sharing with people. And then when I got my certification, I started getting so many referrals because there's some simple things that you can do to really regain health that are massively impactful. And I got to the point where I was kind of overwhelmed with clients, but I wanted to serve as many people because this is something that was life-changing for me, life-changing for my son. And so I began to start thinking, how can I get this information to people on a broader scale? So I started doing webinars where I could, basically present the information for free. did recordings and they could share with their friends. And then I was able, I got referrals from that as well. But I started putting that into like a group setting where I could still be in person and really in connection with folks, but able not, it didn't rule my life. I had created more hours in the day by doing group coaching. So within that, we also can get pretty lost in that, right? You get these courses online and videos that you can watch at any time. Like, there's a plethora of information. That doesn't always change the picture for people because we also need that connection, that human connection, right? So for me, what I've landed on is this kind of hybrid of being able to offer things online that has a live Q&A portion where we can meet once a month and have group coaching, or you can still get one-on-one time with me. I love that dynamic. So I make time and space for that as well. And then I love also because we're all thank you for being on Zoom, first of all. We're all a little tired of it, right? Can you kind of like raise your hand if you're like just a little tired of it? We've got to have an ability to connect in person too. So I lead retreats. That's a huge passion of mine. So we can, again, just like put all the technology down, be in person, hold hands, really do some incredible work together. So for me, it's that hybrid of being able to reach many, but then come right back to the source of togetherness and being able to slow down and connect. I think that kind of answers the question. But I'm talking to the practitioners and coaches in the room, as you're burning with this good news of what you've discovered for yourself that works, that growth and scaling is kind of twofold. Decide where you can serve many, but also keep the effectiveness and the connection in place. So that's where I've found kind of my balance. If I had just stayed in the overwhelm of seeing people one-to-one, I wouldn't have been able to reach as many people as I do now. But at the same time, just my caution to being able to still make space for that in-person connection. And even if that's just, I'm actually trying to cause like a breakthrough in my community here, that each individual coach that's here doing things does at least once a month community event that's free where we can just gather. My community event is going to be packing smoothie bags so people can have and actually Alysia helped me, who's amazing, put this little recipe guide online where people can start their day with a whole food smoothie, and we're going to come together and do that, pack those smoothie bags together and sample them and, have that connection. So there's so many ways, and that's going to, again, that's my kind of scaling effect. It's my free thing. It's a way to come get in connection with me, but that builds that referral base because they get to see my heart for people and have that that takeaway that's valuable, right? Whole food smoothie in under a minute, Monday through Friday.
Thank you, April.
Yeah, little all over the place there, but I think you get the gist. And
No, it
we
was great.
have like little breakouts where you get to come ask questions too. So.
All right. Now we're going to pass off to Emma. Emma, tell us about creating a business plan that integrates the new paradigm and is also women-centric.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for continuing to be here. So, growth and scaling. How do you even get started with the business to begin with? A lot of the time, we jump into things because we're so passionate and we're great at being the technician, and we love it so much that we want to now create a business. The problem is that there's a shift that happens that a lot of us bypass, and we're leaving the technician behind and becoming more managerial. And what managers do is they run the operating systems. As entrepreneurs, we are incredibly intuitive, creative, and we just know when something's going to work. The know-how and how it tangibly runs is the most important part. So when I created Casita Bodywork, I had gone through a couple of different versions, and I was coming from a place of bereavement. My father had just passed, and I felt like it was my time to really do something. And I wanted to make almost like a living amends to my father by learning good business values that I could use in business. Again, because I have great ideas, even in bereavement. So, time management, organization, financial literacy, in the form of bookkeeping. There was a time where I just, again, had that shift where it was that alignment, that throat, chest, gut feeling aligned. And I just surrendered and was ready to take on the process of learning how to successfully get this machine going, right? You'll hear people say, my business is my baby, it's my baby. And that is going back to the opening photo of the pregnant woman. It is our baby. And as women, we feel really protective of it. We want to nurture it. But like children, we want to find the balance, right? Like the bumpers of letting them explore and thrive and have their own life force. But you also want to make sure they're safe. So in that is where the business plan comes in terms of business language. So the business plan is really going to be what your boundaries are and your values. You want to put what you bring to the table, how you serve, but you also are going to professionally write in what you're not going to tolerate. And that's in forms of systems. So you have booking systems. Again, I opened with one of my pet peeves was, can I bring cash for the deposit? Or I'll bring cash for the deposit when I get there. And it's like, no, sorry, chief, like you're not getting here because that's not what a deposit is. But I learned very quickly that having that approach, a little spicy, very masculine, was not bringing people back. And on top of that, double whammy, I didn't want those people to come back. So, how did I make the shift with my business coach? Well, I had to come to an understanding for the business plan what my values were. And I only want to align and work with people that fall within those values. So, you've got your three avatars. And really, the booking system and how you take bookings, I prefer to have 100% payment upfront and a little treat, tippy if you feel called to it. I'm not moving until I know my overhead is covered. And that was a shift made in personal development, honoring my own boundaries, honoring my capacity, what I was able to do, what I was willing to do, but mostly able, right? And that's a really powerful word. What are we willing and able to do? And when we can, what I really love to get women to do is empower them with the keys to making the shift, right? To giving yourself permission to saying, no, I'm not going to work unless I'm paid this way. No, I've got to have things run this way in a business plan. And it's almost therapeutic, like journaling, because business plans, like cycles, are supposed to even flow. I do recommend checking it out, little sneak peek quarterly. If things aren't working, you have a paper trail of where the kink in the hose is, and it makes it more streamlined to address those issues. And it's something that I think is really important that is overlooked. We do kind of run back to it, but I'd like to get women to do that right from the get-go.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We're going to start with another workshop. It's going to be the Business Mastermind workshop led by April Emanuelson and Steph Dunkel. So April Emanuelson, let's spotlight her. We've introduced her earlier. She's a functional nutrition practitioner, among many other titles and roles. And she brings balance to ambitious entrepreneurs through a whole foods diet and scientific approach to heal chronic health issues and build a vibrant life. And then Steph Dunkel, let's spotlight her. She is an ICF certified executive coach, educator, and speaker who helps women confidently step into what's next, whether that's a new career, leadership role, or season of life. And drawing on more than 20 years of experience in engineering and education, she blends strategic thinking with a deeply collaborative coaching style that helps women move from overthinking to action. And nothing lights her up more than watching her clients grow into the version of themselves they've been ready for all along. So thank you, ladies, for being here. and take it away.
Thank you. I'm so excited about this portion because this really helped me actually. So first of all, I would love to get a little bit of a feel. If you don't mind raising your digital hand, I'm going to put it on gallery view here for myself. If some of our participants are here just kind of checking out the business aspect of wisdom and wellness, or if you're just here to learn for yourself. So if you're here for like ideas for your business, you're in this field, can you raise your hand? I just want to see who I'm speaking to. Okay. Awesome. And then can you raise your hand if you're here just to get ideas for yourself? You're understanding there's a shift in healthcare and wellness. Go ahead and take those hands down and raise your hand if you really are just here to kind of understand yourself, navigating new possibilities in this paradigm shift. All right, awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, this is really going to speak to anyone here, honestly. So human design is something that really helped me understand who I am as kind of my engineering, if you will. And I love that Steph is going to go next, who is an engineer by education. And I'm going to give you the website so you can kind of run your own information. You're going to need your birth date, the time that you were born, and the location to run your human design. And here you can see on this screenshot the authority, the aura type, as some people call it. Actually, you know what? Let's go. So on the left-hand side, the type is generator. So this is actually my human design. And I'm going to go through the different types of aura types, if you will, so you understand. And I'm going to do a little storytelling in this because it's really fascinating to me. So manifestors are about 9% of people, and they have an aura type that's closed and kind of repelling. They are not really here for anybody's involvement. They are here to inform and act upon what makes sense to them. I've met one manifestor, and she's a dynamic 13-year-old. It's very interesting, but she's like, I don't need to interact with you. I've got my own thing going on. A little bit rare. Okay, so then there's the generator. That's like myself. And that's about 37% of people. We're open, we're enveloping. My strategy is to wait to respond. So I'm really all about the community, what's going on for people, and I'm responding to what I'm in connection with. I'm going to read a little bit more because this is more of the population. It's the life force of the planet. Generators have a sustainable, powerful energy source, but only when they're responding to what lights them up. Their open aura draws life to them. When they honor their gut response and do work they love, they become magnetic, satisfied, and virtually unstoppable. And then manifesting generator, this is 33% of people. Their aura type is also open and enveloping. They respond, then inform. So they take in information and they inform people around them. They're a little bit more the temperature setter in the room, if that makes sense. It's a dynamic hybrid of the manifestor and the generator. They're fast moving, multi-passionate. They build and find shortcuts and blaze new trails. They thrive when they respond first, like a generator, and then inform like a manifestor. They skip steps as a part of their genius, and it's not a flaw. So this is my husband, and I'm a generator. So he has all these great ideas, and he throws it out. He can manifest, like he thinks of a fire truck, and next thing I know, we have a fire truck on our farm, And then I'm the generator that's putting, like, we own a gym and a restaurant. He's like, let's do this gym and restaurant. He gets the building. We're in there, and then I'm in there, making the systems go. So if you have a generator and a manifesting generator couple, that's a pretty dynamic couple, but there can be some push-pull also. And then about 20% of the people are projectors. So this aura is focused and absorbing. They have to be very careful who they're with. Their strategy is to wait for the invitation. These are the natural guides, the seers, the system thinkers. Projectors have a penetrating aura that deeply reads and understands other people's energy. They are not here to work like generators. They are here to direct and guide. Their gifts are fully recognized when they wait for the formal invitation. These are teachers, but they have to be asked to teach. And especially for big life decisions like love, career, and place, they need to really sit into that and not make rash decisions. And then reflectors, 1%. Again, I've only met two reflectors. They're resistant and they're kind of toe dippers. They're sampling. They're rare, remarkable mirrors of their community. So they really, it's really interesting. The one reflector I know, she's just like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. She just reflects back the incredible gifts that each person has. So everyone she's around, she's just like amazed by them. It's pretty fun. Okay, and then the next on the right hand of side, I just want to. So I'm. This is a very fast overview, and there are some incredible people in this group that know much more about human design than I do. But I was like, we got to put human design in here. The other thing I want you to know about is your inner authority. So when you run this, I'm going to give you the website at the end of our panel. Just know your type and your inner authority. So inner authority is important. So I'm a sacral inner authority. It's a or a right away. So I'll know in my gut that it's for me or it's not for me. If you are a emotional inner authority, there's no rush in making decisions. You got to ride the highs and lows and get real clarity before you make a decision. Splenic is actually it's the oldest intelligence in the body. It's intuition in its purest form. It speaks once, quietly, and in that moment, and never repeats itself. So if you miss it, it's gone. So if you're splenic, you're going to need some more guidance, but just definitely know that you've got an incredible intuition. And then I'm going to actually, a lot of reflectors have a lunar inner authority. They have to wait 28 days before a major life decision. That's a little bit more rare. So I won't go into all of that, but where are we on time? I was reading from my notes. I have 1 more minute, correct, Sisi? Okay. Making sure I'm not going into Steph's time because what she's got for you is incredible. So yeah, definitely understand who you are, whether that's just in your own health journey or you have a business and you need to kind of understand how you work. My example of this is that I just helped my husband launch this gym and restaurant, right? And it's something that I love, but it's not my sole purpose. So it's not something that's lighting me up in the daily. I've set the systems in place. We've got some employees in place now. And so now I get to step out into something that I love that lights me up. As a generator, I need to be completely focused on that. It doesn't mean that I can't create good systems for other people. Just be careful in terms of doing what lights you up. I would say that's the truth for any type. But it's interesting too, like manifesting generators, they can have this great idea and then they find the person that's going to enact that for them because they're going to have another really good idea pretty soon. And you might feel kind of crazy, like, oh my gosh, good idea, Fairy, but I can never follow through. You just need to find the follow through people. Okay. I will end it on that and then turn it over to Steph with the next part.
Yay. Thanks, April. All right. So I am so excited to be part of this summit, and I would love to start off with a quote that kind of helps explain why. It's from Felicia Rashad, who often speaks of sisterhood and female empowerment. So my favorite quote of hers is, "When women come together with a collective intention, magic happens." And I believe this to my core, and I've experienced it many times. And so I kind of want to talk a little bit about the strengths that we bring to life and leadership that have been researched and so scientifically backed. April mentioned I'm an engineer, so that tends to be my default. But according to research by McKinsey Consulting Company, University of Michigan, and Sally Hellickson, so they all independently were researching women in leadership, and they found that we tend to be stronger in the areas that I'm going to list off here in comparison with men. So inspiring others, building strong relationships, collaborating in teamwork, communicating powerfully, integrating our personal and professional lives. I would imagine that one resonates. Leading from the center, and I like to think of that as like leading from the center from the standpoint of we tend to not be as extreme, but also from our own heart center. And then bringing out outside and unique perspectives. So that can be our own unique perspectives, or it can be creating space for people that might not speak up to feel safe to speak up. And so I want you to take a minute and sort of take that in and feel that. How perfectly do these qualities enable us to connect with one another, to empower one another, and also to be resilient, because there's a lot of research that shows that resilience is very closely tied to relationships and connection. And I can say from my own personal experience, this is absolutely the truth. If it wasn't for my close friends and my amazing community, I would never have made it through, the death of my husband 5 years ago, through my breast cancer treatment, and just so many other challenges in the last 6 years. I turned 50 on Tuesday, and I'm manifesting like an extremely even-keeled, lovely, present, and peaceful next 50 years. And I'd love to bring you all on that journey with me. So the other thing that research shows us is that we tend not to leverage our networks. We build these beautiful relationships. We have these broad networks, and then we don't tend to intentionally connect in them. And so I want to challenge everybody to do that today. And I want to kind of talk a little bit more about this. So I think for some of us, it's because it feels inauthentic. It can feel like we are imposing on other people, or that it's selfish. We also tend to be people pleasers. We tend to want to care for others. And so that feels more like we're asking instead of giving. But I would invite you to think about the last time that someone asked you to collaborate with them or asked you for help, and how did that make you feel? If they were a friend of yours, if they were someone that you are aligned with and you care about, I bet that made you feel good to be asked, right? And if it didn't, it's probably because they were asking from a self-serving place, right? And I can't imagine that anyone that's here would be doing that. And so if we can give ourselves the gift of recognizing that when we reach out to people to connect, to collaborate, to ask for help, that we are, really tapping into our ability to help other people feel needed and relevant, and at the same time helping ourselves, and really building that and strengthening that connection between the two of us. So reflecting back on my opening quote, when we gather, magic happens. I have really experienced over and over the ideas, serendipitous ideas, opportunities, referrals tend to just emerge like magic. And, it might be by sharing our ideas, by just creating a safe space for ourselves to exhale. Has anybody experienced this? I'd love for a show of hands. Has anybody experienced this already today? Because this summit is a beautiful example of women coming together and really creating magic, right? Yeah, absolutely. So, when was the last time you reached out intentionally to a friend or to a group, somebody that has similar experiences to you, someone that might have complementary expertise, somebody that you'd like to work with? Have you done that recently? I try to be intentional and I still forget, right? Life starts lifing really hard and stuff starts happening and I forget, and I think, gosh, I'm feeling disconnected. Wow, because I literally haven't connected with anybody for a while. And so I would love to challenge everybody to just think about think about someone that you haven't connected with that you would love to reconnect with. Maybe you want to move them closer into your inner circle. Maybe it's somebody that you just haven't talked to for a while and you wonder how they're doing, and write that person's name down. If that feels risky, then start with somebody who's safe, right? And think of it as an experiment. Again, as an engineer, I love to think of the things that I'm trying as little experiments, and it's information. So if it doesn't turn out the way that I wanted it to, I learned something, even if it didn't go the way that I wanted it to. And I see your comment, Barbara. I would say too, also maybe think of, if you're concerned about that, find a safe person that you're going to connect with afterwards too, and just kind of share that. If you feel you have somebody that you feel open with sharing it, and allow them to hold that space for you and maybe reframe it for you. And then also maybe that second person is the person you were really meant to connect with. I feel at work, it feels like yesterday, the 20 something who was working with the 30 and 40 somethings. And now I'm the 50 something with the 20 and 30-year-olds. So I can completely relate to that idea of feeling like I'm not sure if I'm relevant some days. But I have a wonderful core team at work that reminds me that I am. So they're fabulous. And that's huge for me. Again, that gets back to that relational aspect, right? Where am I time-wise? Because I feel like I've been talking for a while and
You have 50 seconds.
Woo, okay. So 2 things. And let me just look at my notes to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. I wanted to also say one more thing about a tendency that we have. We have a tendency to be perfectionists as women. And something that can serve us better is to replace that perfectionism with the idea of excellence. And so I used to always say perfect when someone would tell me something or suggest something. And I've now been really intentional about just replacing the word perfect with excellent. We're all familiar with done is better than perfect. I know I was letting it get in the way of things. And so I've just tried to define what excellence looks like. And sometimes that's just good enough because it just needs to be out in the world. And then I really focus on doing that thing. Thank you so much.
I love it. And it's hard for us in a short workshop to, be able to dive in, but what we want to do is leave you with some gifts to dive in with yourself in later. So I'm going to drop that human design link in the chat. And then Steph, you have had something you wanted to give the guests as well.
Yeah, I have a Google Doc that kind of walks a little bit more slowly through what I talked about that I'd be happy to load into the chat as well.
And just a quick housekeeping. I know within the email list, you guys are all going to get contact information for all the speakers. So if you want to be able to reach out to us, ask more questions, you're going to get all of our information. Thanks, Sisi.
All right, so our next panel is how AI is changing businesses. And we have 4 wonderful speakers, 2 of whom you've been acquainted with, and I'll briefly reintroduce them as well. So first we have Dominique. Let's spotlight her. Dominique, we've introduced her earlier. Like I said, she's a global branding, marketing, and digital strategist, and she brings a creative, detail-oriented approach to branding, marketing, digital strategy, and storytelling. And she guides brands and businesses to make a meaningful difference. And again, she made our landing page and our backgrounds and our slides, and she does beautiful work. Next, we have April. Let's spotlight her. Again, we've introduced her earlier. She's a functional nutrition practitioner, among many other titles and roles. And she brings balance to ambitious entrepreneurs through a whole foods diet and scientific approach to heal chronic health issues and build a vibrant life. Next, we have Rosalina Spence. Let's spotlight her. So Rosalina, she is a transformational speaker, entrepreneur, and executive leader whose work centers on leadership, communication, and human transformation. With experience across healthcare, construction, land development, hospitality, operations, compliance, and community development, she brings a grounded, dynamic perspective to every stage. And a former program leader for Landmark Worldwide, Rosa coaches individuals and teams using transformational communication distinctions that strengthens leadership, accountability, and connection. She is also the founder, president, and executive director of Holistic Beings, Inc., a nonprofit committed to making a difference for people impacted by violence and disaster. And currently pursuing her MBA, Rosa blends executive leadership, coaching, and artistic expression to inspire people to lead with purpose and creating lasting impact. Next, we have Larissa Lapointe. Let's spotlight Larissa. So Larissa Lapointe is a high-performance coach, digital marketing strategist, entrepreneur, and former professional athlete, passionate about helping women unlock their full potential. And with more than 20 years of experience in digital marketing, branding, demand generation, and business growth, she combines performance psychology, mindset work, marketing expertise, and practical business strategy to help others create success without sacrificing their well-being. And drawing from her own personal journey through personal adversity, resilience, and transformation, Larissa is committed to empowering women to lead with authenticity, confidence, and purpose while building thriving careers, businesses, and lives. So thank you all for being here. So next, we're going to start with Dominique. So first question is, for someone who has never used AI, how can she start? And what's the first steps or most useful steps? And what's your experience with that?
Thank you, Sisi. It's great because in our business breakout room, we definitely touched on AI and how it can help people who are, just starting a business. So I'm really glad that this is the next panel. Before I go into any helpful tips or my experience of how I started, I wanted to quickly just start with, if you don't mind flipping over to the next slide, Sisi. A really important and I believe fundamental piece to take away from this. And I think that, especially given the conversations about what we've been having today, I don't ever want technology or new technology to feel like it's taking anything away from us. And I think that can sometimes be the fear with people who don't understand it or have not really explored yet. I really want to make it clear that, AI can really be a great tool to help give your wisdom more reach. It is not replacing you in any way. And so we really like to think of how, everything really comes from your experience and your intuition, your unique stories. AI cannot replace that, and it cannot do anything with it unless, you start to use your stories to amplify your reach. And so really look at this as a tool that can really help you take your wisdom and help it travel further so that you can really amplify that. And so the most successful people I've seen using AI, they're not using it to replace their voice. They're using it to help things go further. They're turning workshops like this into blogs or into email chains, or they're turning their journal reflections into social media content. FAQs from their clients into, resources, and is really just helping things travel further. As we move on to the next slide, I want to talk about two things that I think is, maybe it didn't make it. Oh, there it is. Thanks, Sisi. Two, I think, of the most important mindset shifts when it comes to just starting out with this. My experience with AI is, I think when it first launched in 2022, I was one of the first few to actually get one of those coveted logins. I think what happened is that everyone flooded the page and they started to limit it. And I felt like I had something really special. But to be honest with you, it wasn't that great back then. I felt like you were, talking to a clunky robot that didn't really know what to say back to you. But I felt that there was something cool. We were on the brink of something cool. And I just, with a lot of curiosity, just kept playing with it. And from ChatGPT, we ended up with Claude and Obsidian and so many other just endless amounts of tools now. So I think the first thing we want to start with when you are on the brink of exploring this is that start to think about what's draining you in your business or in your personal life. Don't open up the tool and go, okay, what can this do? Or what do I do with it? I think that can be very overwhelming. I think start to think about, what is draining you? What is your problem? And then start from there and see how you can push it. And the next, and I think most important here, is that AI is not, you don't have to have some magical perfect prompt to get the most perfect response. It really is having a conversation with a coworker, or they call it a really, really intelligent intern. And the more you converse with it and the more you ask questions and the more you add context and refine what it is that you need, the better it becomes at collaborating with you. Tell it about what you need and why, and work with it. Work with it as it's a conversation. I really need help with understanding this piece of my business, and just take it from there. It really doesn't have to be scary or big or too technical. It really is just a conversation that you're having with like a coworker, as I said. So I would say that those are the two biggest mindset shifts here when we speak about AI. Yeah, and I wanted to make sure that when we answer this question, we make it feel as accessible as possible. I think everyone is on a different journey in their AI exploration journey. Some have been using it for years, some are just getting started with it. And so it differs from person to person. But yeah, just starting with what's draining you and taking it from there should probably be your best foot forward.
Thank you, Dominique.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the next question is for April. So, for the overwhelmed entrepreneur, what are the first things she can delegate to AI to do high-paying activities without having to hire someone?
Actually, Sabine and I were just in a breakout room over the break, a little bit talking about this in terms of, I love what Dominique said. You can troubleshoot with AI. Like, okay, I'm feeling really drained about, what do I charge for this? Or not to say that Sabine and I were talking about that, but when I'm doing this thing, and for me it was workshops, and Sabine was doing workshops too, and we're giving so much information all at once. It's nice to have like a way to break it down and make it steps people can follow, because sometimes we just get really excited about our topic, and then it can be overwhelming. So for myself, I I know that people need to follow kind of a step-by-step approach to regaining their health, and giving too much too fast is going to be overwhelming. So also my busy brain, it's like I'll just dump it all out and be excited about the topic. It's a great way to dump all the ideas and then have some organization behind it. So I think if we have a next slide, I had an actual illustration of that where, so I've got these step-by-step aspects of my program. And so I think you can go back one. Yeah. So phase 3, I need a tracker for them to be able to like go in and fill things out and like really get an idea of what's going on in their system, and do some record keeping. But for me and my busy brain, I'm like, I'm not sure how to organize that. You can actually ask AI to do that, and they'll create a tracker, and there it is on Excel. So that was really exciting. I was like, oh my gosh, because I'm also, my brother's a computer programmer, and so he actually built me this with Claude, where it's on my desktop, and I can ask it to make me a PowerPoint or make me a tracker, or things that, like, he calls me Sister Saurus because I'm sitting here one finger typing, and I don't even know really how to build an effective spreadsheet. So it can do those things for me, and it's, in seconds, it's like life changing. You can go to the next slide. So, and then the other thing, it gives you not only those little detailed things, but that big overview. So I was like, okay, I want you to use this philosophy, take on like Dr. Amen's criteria for brain health. Like, you can give it some really specific guidelines and then see what it puts out for you. So I was like, let me, these are my philosophies. These are the doctors I follow. I really want to take people through this journey. Build me a 6-month outline. And in seconds, here's this outline. And now my caveat is you still have to go through all of those things and really kind of go, okay, yeah, no, I need that tweaked, or I don't agree with it. It's not like you're just, taking this and running with it. You're still kind of co-creating with it, if that makes sense. But it's a great way to organize thoughts. It's a great way to simplify steps for you're the expert, right? Sometimes we overcomplicate for our clients, and this is a way to make it so it's like step by step and doable, with ability to track things, and to even get feedback on my end. Sometimes before all of this, I would tell clients to go do these 4 steps, and I don't know if they're doing that. Now it's in their tracker, so it's a great resource.
Okay, thank you, April. All right, we're going to move on to the next question. And this question is for Rosalina. So, I need to make money in my business. What AI prompts can I use?
All right. Well, thank you for that question. So if you're simply using AI to write social media posts the way I started in the beginning, you're only scratching the surface. As Sisi mentioned, I am the executive director of a nonprofit organization. I also run a construction company now. I've gotten into real estate development, and I'm also an engineer. And I build beautiful landscapes all over the state of Florida. And AI has made it easier for me to be able to manage all of my businesses and even make money in my business. So there's like certain specific prompts that I would encourage people to use, right? So I encourage each and every one of you to think of AI as a part of your executive team, right? The quality of the answers you receive depends on the quality of the questions that you ask AI. So here are 5 prompts that I've used in the past and have made a real big difference for me. So the first prompt is about revenue, right? So I use ChatGPT and I have a paid version of it. So I requested for my business where we do construction and we do owner oversight of construction projects. I requested AI to act as my chief revenue officer and based on my business to identify the 3 fastest ways I can increase my revenue in the next 90 days and explain each strategy, how each strategy will work and what actions I should take first. And it literally just listed everything for me. And as April mentioned, I went over it and I looked at it. Okay, is this feasible for me? Is this something that I can do? And, I did this for all of my businesses. And then I've just like scheduled time to take those actions. Now, this prompt helps you focus on the activities that are most likely to generate income instead of spending time on things that don't move the needle, right? Now, the second prompt, and I can share all of these with everyone, the prompts. The second prompt is about your customer, right? So describe my ideal customer. What problems are they trying to solve? What are they already spending money on? What objections do they have? How can I position my business as the best solution? So the more you clearly understand your customer, as Dominique mentioned, the easier it is to create products, services, and messaging that people want to buy, right? So the third prompt that I'll share with you is about marketing. And this has made a huge difference for me because I've even asked AI to create images that I can post, right? So create a 30-day marketing plan that attracts qualified leads using social media, email, networking, strategic partnerships, include content ideas and calls to action that convert prospects into paying customers. You will be amazed by what AI can create for you. And instead of wondering what to post every day, AI can help you create a consistent strategy that keeps your business visible and attracts new clients. The fourth prompt is for anyone looking for funding, especially nonprofits, startups, and mission-driven businesses. So identify federal, state, local, corporate, and foundation grants that align with my mission or business. Rank them by funding amount, eligibility requirements, deadlines, and likelihood of success. Then create a grant application strategy for each opportunity. And I took it a step further and I requested AI to create a dashboard for me where I can keep track of all of these funding opportunities. And specifically with my nonprofit fundraising team, on the dashboard, we're able to track who's taking lead in a particular grant, where we're at, and this is how we communicate. And all this was generated through AI. So once you've identified a grant, you can follow it with another prompt, right? You can ask AI to act as an experienced grant writer and draft a compelling grant proposal that clearly communicates my mission, the need I'm addressing, the impact of my work, measurable outcomes, and why my organization should receive funding. And you can even ask AI, like I did an application for the Department of Justice to get a grant to assist women that have been impacted by violence. And I asked AI to read the grant and list all of the requirements and everything that I needed to give give the Department of Justice, and it did just that. So I will finish off with saying AI can save hours of research and help you organize a stronger application. And I'll give you one more prompt, and I know I'm over. And my fifth and favorite prompt is act as my executive leadership team, including a CEO, CFO, chief marketing officer, and sales director, and challenge my thinking. Tell me the biggest opportunities I'm missing and the next 3 actions I should take to grow my business. So this prompt will help you to step out of the day-to-day and think like a leader. And if I could leave you with one takeaway is this: don't think of AI as a tool that simply creates content. Think of it as a strategic thought partner that helps you make better decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosalina. And just to reassure everyone, she'll be sharing the prompts with you all later. All right, we're going to move on to the next question.
Right.
All right, so this last question is for Larissa. So if you had to give every business owner in the room one piece of advice to take away, what's one way to use AI that can help?
So it's really interesting because what Rosalina just ended with is really the overall concept that I was going to focus on, and that AI can be part of every part of your life, and in business it should you should treat it more as a strategic partner, your strategic business partner, and it can help you develop the business and build AI agents, employees within the AI systems. And so a lot of people, like she was saying, they think about it as, oh, help me draft an email, help me do this social post. But earlier, I think even Emma was talking about building systems is really how you can start to accelerate your business. And so that's how starting off just editing emails, editing social posts, editing things I was doing, with AI. And then I started taking some courses and learning a bit more. I've started to build those systems, and that takes away so much off your plate as a business owner. Something we also talked about in the group as a part of those systems is really have it, if you're just getting started, have it build that roadmap for you, have it, and you continue to massage the AI. I would highly recommend not using free versions. Even just get the basic $20 a month for a Claude, GPT, whatever AI you might be using, because it's going to help you. It's going to help start to learn your behavior. And then, as you grow and learn, you can actually even start to create employees or agents to help you run your business. That's something I'm learning quite a bit about currently. You can create a marketing agent with AI. You can create a sales agent with AI. You can create these different employees for your business. Now, that's, of course, at a more advanced level, but there are prompting, as they were just, the previous, speakers were just giving you examples of, there's ways to do that with really sophisticated prompting, and you can start to train the AI to act as a marketing strategist or act as a researcher to target get to your target audience more quickly and refine that and help it act as a content creator, And so as a first step in that, really just start to think of it, how could I use AI in what I'm doing across your whole business? That's really kind of the key takeaway. And then as you start to relieve those tasks off your plate, then you get a focus on the real premium work and what you do best. That's kind of a big takeaway for me. But I also would say, as a part of that journey, make sure you're just constantly learning. There are many, many resources out there to learn AI, and Udemy has very affordable courses out there. Many of the learning platforms out there have very affordable courses. So taking that little bit of time to take a few hours of a course to learn is going to save you so much time. So, that's really my bit. what I had to say.
Thank you, Larissa. Thank you so much. All right, so the next workshop is our gut health and nutrition workshop with April Emanuelson and Sabine. And I'm going to reintroduce April real quick. So let's spotlight April. Again, April is a functional nutrition practitioner among many other titles and roles, and she brings balance to ambitious and entrepreneurs through a whole foods diet and scientific approach to heal chronic health issues and build a vibrant life. And then let's spotlight Sabine. So Sabine Eisaian is a certified integrative health practitioner who helps people build healthy nutrition and lifestyle habits by learning to truly listen to their bodies. Her work focuses on understanding root causes and using a blend of nutrition, daily habits, and natural healing practices. She believes symptoms like low energy, digestive issues, body aches and pains, and disrupted sleep are signals and can be addressed with the right support. Sabine offers in-person healthy living workshops and personalized guidance, helping people develop awareness and confidence so they can take charge of their health in a sustainable way. Thank you, ladies, for leading this workshop.
Thank you. I'm so excited. To say I'm a gut nerd is an understatement. And I know Sabine and I are going to try to give you some really usable tools here and not overwhelm. One thing that I will say is that if you want to make a simple, impactful change in your health and your longevity, getting your gut health balanced is probably the most important thing you can focus on. So that's why there's a lot of other hot topics out there, right? You know, we're talking about hormones in the breakout room, and there's a lot of other ways that we can balance, but you can't do it unless you balance your gut first. Our gut is our second brain, and this is super important to understand. I find people when they're embarking on their journey to eating better, there's this call to the bad foods. And I really love to give people the message that this isn't their fault because our gut is our second brain, and it's actually 1,000 times louder than this one. So if we're low blood sugar, the donut's gonna say to us, eat the donut or we're gonna die. And we're going to feel that way, right? So if we are able to just make one simple change in terms of balancing our blood sugar, and I'll talk a little, actually, Sabine's probably going to talk a little bit about that with fiber and different things that just give our body that overall sense of balance and wellness, we're going to make different food choices. The other thing that really kind of overrides our willpower is bad bacteria. So bad bacteria, if we have an overwhelming amount of bad guys in the gut, they're driving that train. They're going to be craving the sugar. They're going to be craving more processed foods. Also, processed foods signal our brain in a way that's more addictive. There's additives in our processed food that asks us to, keep consuming more. So there's a lot more than just willpower, and I really want to empower people knowing that. And we're going to give you some simple solutions to start having more good bacteria, sending the good signals to say, I do want the quinoa or the, other foods that are actually going to feed the gut and heal the body. So, the microbiome is actually the kind of the word most people understand. It's actually the microbiota. It is a complex world. It has everything to do with our mood, our immunity, our energy, our digestion, weight, and longevity. So then go back one slide. Sisi, sorry to be a little flip-flop here. Signs of leaky gut can be things that we really don't really even know that it started in the gut. So things like food sensitivities we know are in the gut, but mood issues, right? We're just now realizing there's a huge gut-brain connection. That's a term that we're hearing more and more of, but really only in the last couple of years because we're starting to understand the gut-brain connection and the vagus nerve interplay. Thyroid issues are a sign of leaky gut. There's so many women that have thyroid issues. There's a whole nother aspect to that I won't dive into right now. Irritable bowel syndrome, obviously a gut issue, malabsorption of nutrients, inflammatory skin disorders are signs of leaky gut, those autoimmune diseases, right? Our bodies aren't broken. There's just something going on with our baseline. And then difficulty losing weight. Okay, 2 more slides over. So what does a leaky gut, what does that mean, right? We hear leaky gut, but we don't really know what that means. I love to kind of show this picture because it gives you an idea of what we're talking about. So this is the inner lining of your gut. These are the little enterocyte cells that line your gut. And a healthy gut on the left here has this beautiful mucosal barrier that's protecting those delicate little cells. What's interesting to know is that our gut is actually one cell thick, which is half of a human hair. So it's a really permeable experience from whatever we're putting in our body into that actually can get into our bloodstream. So if we have this big, nice mucosal barrier that's protecting those little enterocyte cells, everything's functioning well. It's keeping out that those bad bacteria, different things. But on the right hand side, you're seeing there's more bad bacteria, there's more maybe toxins and different things that have eroded that mucosal barrier. Stress erodes that mucosal barrier. Antibiotics, we all know that, right? Different other medications, environmental toxins can erode that mucosal barrier. And now those little enterocyte cells that are so delicate are under attack. And then you'll see here in between those cells are the junctions. So those junctions weaken. And this is why leaky gut happens. Basically, now that bad bacteria can get into the bloodstream. And this is the baseline of inflammation. This is where the immune system gets activated. This is kind of the start of it all, right? So if we can rewind, tighten up our gut junctions, there's things like L-glutamine that are beautiful for that, certain foods that can tighten that up. And Sabine's going to go into a little bit of how to like create that healthy gut. Then we can rewind inflammation. We can rewind autoimmune disorders, seasonal allergies, food allergies, so much more. So it's really exciting to really understand what we're up against and what leaky gut means and to reverse it. Go ahead on to the next slide. Okay, well, I talked so fast. So within that 2 minutes, I would love to share my story if I can do that. So I can't remember a time actually from like early on that my gut didn't have issues. I had this bloated little belly. All my 5-year-old pictures, it's just like, what's wrong with her tummy? I had food sensitivities, and that was one of the first discoveries I was able to identify from the naturopath that I saw. I was allergic or sensitive to most of the foods I was eating, gluten, corn, dairy. I had to relearn in my 20s how to eat, in essence. And my bad bacteria was overwhelming. And so I was having cravings for those, pizza, different things that weren't necessarily feeding my system. And so when I learned that, I actually went to this naturopath in desperation. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue, and I was very like type A and motivated to go to med school. And the doctors that I went to see to figure out what was wrong finally said that I had chronic fatigue and this would be my life and that there was no real cure for it. And I scratched my head like, how is that even a thing? And so those doctors that I idealized telling me this is my new way of life, I went to I was like, well, forget you. And I went and found one of those weird doctors. Here's what I felt like was weird. I'm going to be 50. So in my 20s, this didn't really exist the way it does for some of you younger women, which I'm so grateful that there's more resources out there. So I went to one of those weird doctors, found out about these sensitivities, took those out of my diet, relearned how to eat, and I got my life back and then some. I was like on fire about nutrition. I was like, if nutrition can do all of these things, and my stomach for the first time wasn't bloated after eating and all these things. And I just didn't get the connection. So I really am passionate about this topic, and it's something that can create an incredible baseline for your health and longevity and feelings of wellness and energy for life. And so it is super important. Okay, with that, I will turn it over to Sabine.
Okay, hi everybody. Oh my gosh, very, very similar experience, of course, with the gut, so I won't bore everybody with mine. So yeah, I'm Sabine Eisaian, and I'm an integrative health coach, and I landed on this. I'm an educator, actually. I teach school, kindergarten through 12th grade, but because of my own healing myself, and I was like, people have to know that you can heal yourself, and your gut is a way to do that. So next slide, please. Okay, so why gut health matters? April went into that a little bit because our gut impacts everything, right? Our digestive system, how we break down the food, how we absorb the food so that we do have energy. It impacts our immunity. How healthy can we be? Can our cells support us when we get a virus or a bacteria? Our energy level, right? So people think they're eating healthy, they're doing everything, but their energy is so low, like chronic fatigue. April had it, I had it. So it was all connected to our gut bacteria not functioning well. Mood, definitely, our gut impacts our mood because it messes up our hormones. And also, if we want to age healthy and not develop disease in our bodies, we got to focus on our gut microbiome. That's why it's so important. That's why we're talking about it. So next slide, please. And so how do we feed our gut bacteria? You might already be in a place where, you're dealing with IBS and leaky gut. Then you'll do these. But for people who are not there, thankfully, how do we prevent it? So you want to bring in a lot of fiber into your system. So that's through eating vegetables, eating fruits, whole fruits. I'm not talking about the juices, right? The whole fruit, because you want to bring the fiber in. Lentils, beans, whole grains. And I'm not talking about processed breads. I'm talking about whole grains, cooking the brown rice, cooking the quinoa. And if you're sensitive to wheat, staying away from that. And then, of course, nuts and seeds, they're all loaded with fiber. And also learning how to cook them properly so that your body is able to absorb them, to break them down and absorb them rather than passing through your system without getting to yourself. Okay, so next one. Okay, how can we give good back? So probiotics are very important. And so if our our gut has been compromised and we've been taking antibiotics when we were kids, that was my case, right? We don't have enough good bacteria. So how do we bring those in? So let's look at foods that actually bring the good bacteria in. Sauerkraut is a big one, right? We're not thinking the sauerkraut that we put on hot dogs, right? We're thinking the sauerkraut that's fermented properly with salt and it sits in the refrigerator. So just read labels when you're buying sauerkraut. Kimchi, yogurt, if your body can tolerate. Some people are intolerant to dairy, so you want to become aware if your body can handle yogurt or not. Kefir and miso, right? Miso saved my life. Like my healing started when I started doing all these miso and sauerkraut. And again, throughout all of these, paying attention to your body the whole time, right? Not just because I said so, just because you're a nutritionist or somebody said, these are good for you. You still have to listen to your body and see how it feels when you consume these. You want to bring in good probiotics, but also the ones that align with your body. Okay, next one, please. Oh, when it comes to probiotics, you want to make sure that you eat like with every meal. I say, tablespoon of sauerkraut with every meal, even with your breakfast, if it's eggs or something sour and salty. It might not go with your smoothie, but whenever you're eating food that can have sauerkraut, just have a tablespoon of sauerkraut with that to actually activate the juices in your digestive system. All right, next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, and so along that line, April was referring to, reducing some of these foods that will trigger issues with your gut, right? Excess sugar. We're not talking about whole foods that, again, paying attention in moderation, but excess sugar added to any foods, processed foods. We know what they are, junk food and chips and all these. We've heard a lot about those. Alcohol can definitely, cause issues with your gut lining. And also stress eating, or just in general stress, which brings me to the next slide, which I put so much focus on when I'm doing my health coaching one-on-one or workshop. We always dedicate a big piece to mindful eating. Why? because we have to prepare our bodies to actually break down the food. So when we get our bowl of food or whatever we're eating, and we put it in our mouth, chew it a couple of times, swallow it, the system's like, what just happened? I don't know how to break this down, right? Because breakdown happens in our mouth. It happens with the mixture of saliva. In our saliva, we have an enzyme called amylase. Most of the carbohydrate starts breaking down in our saliva. So when we swallow that food whole, now the digestive system is overworked. Now it needs to create more acid so it can break down that food. So now then we have that like acid problems and stomach pains. So again, it starts with stopping, pausing, breathing, looking at our food, getting present to how it got there, all the things that had to work out for the food to get there, you know, from planting the food and planting and harvesting and bringing it to stores or the farmer's market and someone going buying it and cooking it for you. And there it is, right? So it's just appreciating that. So, and looking at your food, engaging your senses. When you engage your senses, then the message goes to your brain, says, now we need to produce the juices, the enzymes that will break down the food. So that's why we're slowing down. So being grateful, so taking a deep breath, being present, and chewing. Now, people say chew 50 times. I don't look at it that way. It's like chew until your food is liquid in your mouth. So you want to drink the food you're eating in a way. So it becomes liquid and then you swallow. Now, sometimes it's, 15 chews and sometimes it's 50. It depends on what you're eating. And then in between while you're eating, instead of like being ready to eat the next bite, just put your utensils down and finish chewing, swallowing, and then pick up your utensils and eat your food. That way, your body has time to process what you just did, you ate, and it can send a message when you're full. You'll be like, I think we're good now. We got enough nutrients. You can stop eating. And so again, we always come back to listening to your body, the signals it's sending. And do we have another slide? I think so. Okay, so again, to just summarize everything, simple daily habits to feed your gut. What are they? Eat whole foods, grains, beans, lentils, fruits, vegetables, fermented foods, and bring mindful eating. Of course, the water is over there because we always want to have enough water in our system because we're mostly water. But I want to say while you're eating the foods, you don't want to have too much water because the food dilutes all of the good enzymes, all of the good juices that are breaking down the food. So you don't want to interfere that process. You might want to take a sip or two if your food is too dry, but you want to basically break it down, mix it with your saliva. And if you need to drink a little bit water, maybe take a sip. So you want to drink more water maybe half an hour before you eat or half an hour later to give your body enough time to break down the food properly. So yes, I was going fast too because I didn't know how much time I have. I think that's my last slide.
It is your last slide, and you're perfect.
Okay, thank you. I ran out of time. Sorry.
No, you're perfect on time.
Oh my God, perfect. Okay. Do I have time to share a little more?
I'll give you 30 seconds.
30 seconds? Okay, well, that's it. I was just telling my story how I ended up here. It was listening to my body, really. I had major gut health issues. As I worked on it and corrected it, my energy shifted. In my 30s, I had more energy than I had ever had in my life because I focused on the gut. All my body aches and pains disappeared. My sinuses disappeared. My brain fog disappeared. So, of course, here I am wanting to make a difference for people. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Now we're going to get started with the movement workshop led by Eva Lee and Sabine Eisaian. So Eva Lee is a health coach, realtor, and co-founder of Me Life, a woman-owned health and fitness company based in Marina del Rey, serving clients across the west side of Los Angeles and through virtual coaching internationally. Originally from Denmark, she holds a master's degree in sports science, nutrition, and health, and brings more than 20 years of combined experience in weight management, behavior change, and healthy aging. And with her co-founder, Max, they combine science-backed coaching with real-world experience to help people build strong, resilient bodies and healthier lifestyles through personal training, outdoor small group fitness, and weight management coaching. And I'll also introduce Sabine. We've introduced her earlier. I'll do a brief introduction. So Sabine is a certified integrative health practitioner. She guides her clients in building personalized, sustainable habits that support their unique health goals through nourishing foods and balanced lifestyle practices. So thank you, ladies, for being here, and I'll take it away.
Okay, great. The lymphatic system. What is the lymphatic system? So lymphatic system is your body's drainage system. And by the way, the reason I have all these visuals is because as an educator, I want to make sure all types of learners can process the information. So lymphatic system is your body's drainage and cleanup system. So it's this clear liquid that all goes along the whole body, along with your blood. It's separate from the blood, and it removes all the excess fluids, cellular waste, all the toxins go through the lymphatic system. And it works with the liver and kidneys and digestive system to remove all of these toxins. And it helps with supporting your immunity. So very important system. Now, here's the thing with the lymphatic system. It does not come with its own system to pump toxins out like the heart. So in your cardiovascular system, you have the heart that pumps the blood to have it go around your body. With the lymphatic system, you don't have it. So the only way to actually move the lymph through your system is through movement, muscle contractions, breathing, and hydration. Next slide, please. And so how do we know when you have stagnation in your lymph system? Some of the clues are when you experience puffiness and swelling in your body, you feel sluggish, you have brain fog, you have water retention, you don't know why your weight is going up because your body is retaining water, you have frequent illnesses, and you have stiffness in your joints. So these are hints on that your body, your lymphatic system is not working properly. So we're going to do that in a few seconds here. We're going to move our body. But first, let's look at where the lymph nodes are. Where are the main areas where these toxins accumulate and how to release them and push them out of your system? So in the picture here, if you can notice, there's the, well, I usually look at like the neck area. So first of all, you have the area behind your ears. So as I'm talking about it, you can start gently massaging those areas before we start moving so that it will actually help release it more. So right behind your ears, then there's the neck area. You can see actually on the picture where the neck area is right under your neck. I don't know if you can see me here. Then it's in your clavicle area. So I would massage that area gently. You don't need to do it hard. Underarms. That's your armpit. And inside your elbow. Then it goes down to where your solar plexus are. It's in your abdomen. In the groin area. Then you have behind your knees. And right behind your ankles. So all the movements we're going to do right now are going to address all of these. All right, if you're ready, we're going to stand up and start moving. So go ahead, push your chairs aside. I took my background down so I don't disappear on you. Okay, great. So we're going to start with the neck. So we're going to look right and left. Take your eyes with you. We're moving the neck area so we can address the lymphs under the neck. So this is the quicker version. I'm going to share a YouTube video that is 10 minutes. Like the first thing you want to do in the morning is this movement, 10 minutes of it, and you're done. Sometimes you could do it in 5. And next, we're actually going to move our upper body. Put your hands on your shoulder and twist. Very nice. I see you engaged. It's nice to stand up after sitting all day. Great. Next, we're actually going to bring our arms down forward and pull our shoulders shoulder blades back, forward, back a few times. You can definitely do more of these when you're on your own. Then we are just twisting, flipping our arms. This is addressing the underarms and the armpits. Elbow inside your elbows. Just keep going. Okay, now we're doing a fun one that is going to address behind the neck. So look at your finger right in front of you. Keep your eyes on your finger while you tilt your head diagonally up towards the up corner and then tip it down towards your armpit. Keep your eye on your finger while you're looking up and down diagonally, and you can feel all the cracking behind your neck. I don't know if you can see better if I do this. And now go ahead and switch the other direction. You can switch fingers too if you want. So you're keeping your eye on your finger, diagonally to the left, and then diagonally down towards your armpit a few times. This is also balancing your right and left brain. So it's doing two things at once. Now let's move on to the lower part of the body. So we're going to start with rotations. So your feet are hip distance apart right now. You might not see mine, but hip distance apart, rotating. And then switch to the other side. And now bring your feet together and do the same thing. Now you'll feel it very different. So you're moving different parts of your organs. And then switch to rotate to the other side. How are we doing on time, Sisi?
You got like 1 more minute.
Great. Feet are very wide right now. It's kind of like the Elvis effect when you do again, rotating your hips. Get into it. And then switch to the other side. Okay, from here we're doing a balancing. So if you need to hold on to anything, go ahead. But otherwise, try to balance while you're twisting your knee. Rotating your knee to one side and then flip to the other side. And let's switch legs. So here you're working on your balance and also clearing your lymphatic system. And rotate to the other side. And now we're going down to the knees. Just hold on to your knees. Feet are together. Now you're just going to rotate your knees gently. And the other side. And the final thing we're doing is releasing the whole thing. So you're now just jumping up and down, not really jumping, but going up and down on your knee, heels. Yes. Just heels. And so basically you're releasing all of the limbs. And that is it for our lymphatic system. And now we go to Eva. Thank you, everybody.
Yay, thank you. Can you guys hear me? All right, don't sit down yet because first of all, thank you to Sabine for getting us through the pre-workout, basically. We're gonna go in and take it up to another level where we're going to improve our circulations and we are going to level up whatever we're doing to connect our mind and body. You guys are amazing. You're already standing. I love all of that. Now, tell me, how many of you guys have tried where you started a program and you did it for a couple of weeks and then you stopped because life happened? And then you stop working out. Yep. That is very, very normal because a lot of the times what happens is that most fitness programs are not built for life. And what do I mean with that? So yes, perfect. I'm going to include you guys in our first exercise, which is going to be the squat. From the squat, you're going to start with a shoulder width distance. Nice. And you're going to push your hip back into a seated position. Keep a nice straight back from your head to your tailbone, and your knees are not passing your toes. Can you see that? Now, the thing is, once we're in a squat, you guys are going to follow me, and we're going to stand up by pressing our feet into the ground up into a standing position. I love all of that. Now, we're going to continue doing a couple of more. So while we're doing these beautiful squats, you guys will have to feel what kind of feedback is it giving you. But also, squats are not just to do squats. Squat is an exercise that is one of the most important ones in life because we use it to get up from our couch. We use it to get upstairs. We use it to pick up children, hopefully, if you have any. So that's one of the things that are important, and this is what we call functional exercise. You guys can take a break. Now imagine you have 2 dumbbells, one in each hand, okay? In one of your dumbbells, think about it this way. You're going to curl it. You're still standing with me, yes. You're going to go down. We're going to add it onto our squat. So we're going to sit down in our squat. Once we stand up, we're going to curl it up. Now we're going to continue doing the squat and curl. And why is it I'm doing this? Because life is adding in lower body and upper body now. Woo! Are you guys feeling that movement, that the whole body is actually going up and down? And that's one of the reasons why we're doing this, is because when we compound 2 exercises together, we actually save some time. All right, we're going to take this a third level up, which means we're going to sit down in a squat, we're going to curl, and we're going to press them up over our head. Woo! Going straight down again into our squat. Careful with your knees. Curl them up and press over our head. Now, the thing is about life is we actually do have a lot of times where things happens over the head. We have to reach up to the highest cabinet, right? We have to throw things, the ball, if we're playing, and we just want to be sure that the life is going to be the most optimal. So we got to work out the whole body, which is basically what you do right now. We're working on arms, upper body, core, every time you stand up straight, glutes, legs, and feet. Now, isn't that amazing? You can have a break right now. Take a deep inhale. You are working out your whole body. Now, the thing is, life doesn't happen by standing still. Haha. So in our life, we have 3 different movements patterns, which is called the 3 planes of motion. So the ones you guys know the most is the sagittal plane, which means we are going forward and we're going backward. So in your squat position, when you're still standing, I just gave you a break. I didn't give you like an end, okay? We're going to take a right leg, take one big step back. Careful, don't put your feet behind each other because that's going to mess with your balance. So keep them as 2 train tracks. You can bend in the back knee, and that's going to get you into a lunge. You can still step forward and do an overhead press. So you can go a backward lunge and overhead press. You can alternate. So this is the sagittal plane going back and forth. Now, life also happens side to side instead of just back and forth. So side to side goes with a big step out to the side, going into a lateral lunge, stepping back in, and you're going to alternate over to the other side. Now, why do we have to do that? That's because when we do side to side, we get to, step over and grab something. If we're about to head over to the side and we forgot about that, we can catch ourselves doing that. Take a deep breath. The last one is called the transverse plane. That's rotations. Now, this is a difficult one because in our rotation, think about your spine. It rotates. So that part we're going to do is we got our dumbbells. We're going to bring them up and we're going to rotate into a wood chop. So we can take our dumbbell, sit down, but we're still doing the squat. Careful, don't twist your knees. We're going to bring them up and rotate over to the other side. It's a small movement, but you feel the rotation in your spine, right? And it's the same thing as, oh, I got to pick up this thing, or, oh, I got to pick up that thing. And that's the thing about life. Life has 3 different planes of motion that we have to work with. Now, by this time, if you take a break, what are you feeling? Is any of you guys feeling your heart rate up? A little sweat, maybe? Or is it just me? Yeah. If you're feeling your heart rate up, you're feeling a little warm and fuzzy, which is amazing. What you're working on right now is your cardio, which means you are working on your heart health. We're working on our stamina so we can go longer, go up the stairs, down the stairs for a longer time without being too out of breath, right? Now, do this. In your squat, you're going to bring them up, but if you have something heavy, like for example, 2 dumbbells, now feel the difference between something heavy in your squat and go over into your press. It can just be one thing too. It doesn't have to be 2 things. But the feedback in your body is different. Are you feeling how your muscles now suddenly feel the weight from your dumbbell or whatever you have in your hand? I can see April has something. Oh, exactly. Your doggy, a corgi, I think, right? Or if you have a child, I know Dominique has one. You just Harley, right? You just grab her and you just like bring her up over your head. Now your body feels different. Do you feel how your muscles suddenly are burning? And that's the difference between cardio and strength. The thing is, we just have to remember that it is different, but the body needs all of it. And many people enjoy walking or they enjoy yoga or whatever form for exercise they have. But the truth is, there's nothing that is the only thing, like the golden thing to do when it comes to movement. It's about doing everything so you can feel you have that complete workout so you can life. You can do life. You can tackle on life, but also you can be independent. You can be a great role model for the people around you and include them with you. That's the most important thing. And the truth is that there's no other type of exercise like strength that can help you with your bone density, your muscle mass, your joint health. So that one, I feel like it's a very overseen one. And I would challenge you guys to add that into your routine, whether it's 2 or 3 times a week. It doesn't have to be crazy, okay? So to sum it all up, the goal isn't to memorize 10,000 different exercises. It's about just building on and doing small movement patterns, because what I just taught you guys has been functional exercises. It's been progressive overload. We have done compound exercises, 3 planes of motion, and cardio versus strength, but those are just very, very easy ones. And also, we will give that slide out to you, right, Sisi? So the one and biggest key takeaway is, with everything you're doing, consistency is the most important thing. Now bring that in, okay? Remember that consistency creates results. Whenever you have everything going on, if you can just do a little bit, especially on the strength part also, because that does, if you don't use it, you lose it, you will feel way better. It gives you energy, it gives you strength, it gives you that extra little wow boom that this is your time. You're doing so much in your life that you can give yourself even just half an hour, 20 minutes, whatever it is. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. but to give yourself that little extra strength so you can handle life more. And also with age, you can also be able to catch yourself if you fall. Or if there's anything that you need to pick up, you can do it on your own or help others. So that's my challenge to you guys, is to give a little extra strength in your life. And fitness is about supporting the life you want to live. Thank you for working out with me today.
Oh my gosh, thank you guys. I feel the energy like go up. That was so much fun. So thank you. All right, that was the last workshop of the day, guys, and now we're going to close. And I want to close this. I want to take a few shares from the audience. Like, what did you get out of the summit?
I got so much from each of you. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to continue to grow the conversation. I think it's an important one, and I'm really grateful for each of you holding space for this reach out.
I also just wanted to say, like, I got so much value out of every one of these sessions. I was like glued to the content you guys are sharing. I'm like so inspired after going through this myself. I also am going through some challenging life events, and like this was just such a great thing to be a part of, and also watch you guys thriving in what you love to do, and sharing your gifts with the world. So it was just really valuable for me.
Thank you so much, Larissa, for sharing that.
Oh, yes, Sisi, I want to acknowledge you for putting this amazing project together. Just, yeah.
Yes.
My soul is full, and I'm sure we all feel the same. I cannot wait to reach out to every single one of you. And really, I'm like, I have, yes, this person for that, this person for that. Okay, so so make sure we have everybody's information. I think we do now at this point.
Yes.
So amazing, and thank you for the opportunity. Really, what a blessing.
Well, thank you, all of you. And this is where I'll transition to acknowledging all of you speakers. You came together in a very short period of time, and we co-created a very beautiful event for everyone to share our expertise, our wisdom, and these wonderful conversations we've been having in our mastermind meeting. And I want to acknowledge Dominique again for creating the landing page and the slides and the Zoom backgrounds. You make us look very professional, and you really bring forth, the vibe of the group through the visuals. And I also want to acknowledge a couple of the women in our group who are not here, Devaney and Obehi. They were part of the summit planning, and they unfortunately couldn't be here today, but they really wanted to. Obehi got to join for a little bit, and I saw Devaney join for a little bit too, so that was great. So thank you all.
I just want to say something. It's so refreshing. I know at the beginning when you introduced me, I promote myself as being an elder. I've worked in the healing arts for 25 years, or more than 25 years. That's all I've done. It's not been a side job. It's not been, that's been my main job. And, being with all of you, I just want to say, put me back in beginner's mind, which it is such a refreshing place to be, to see how much growth is still possible for my life. And I look forward to reaching out to all of you and continuing to stay in that frame of mind. It's really refreshing. So thank you so much.
Thank you for saying that, Karen. Great. Now I'm going to pass off Alysia. She's going to talk about what's going to happen after the summit and the Facebook group. And then we'll also talk about the happy hour networking we're going to have at the end as well.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Sisi. Thank you to all the speakers and everything. This was so wonderful. And thank you to everyone who has attended live today and everyone who's watching the recording. We did have almost 100 people registered today. So, we had a lot of people here live, and I know a lot of people will be receiving the recording. So yeah, just some notes for, moving forward. We do have some more breakout rooms after this for another 20 minutes or so that, are optional if you want to keep chatting and networking. We have a Facebook group that you can join to stay in touch. And the current vision for the Facebook group is that we will, be posting, maybe having another summit, maybe having 1 or 2 summits a year. I don't know. This is the first one, so we're figuring out. We're in the exploration, and probably posting in the Facebook group. Like, I think pretty much all the speakers have some sort of events or business or some workshops that they do themselves. So we'll use the group to advertise, like, hey, Karen is doing this workshop, April's doing this workshop. Just letting everyone stay in touch. And we will be sending out an email hopefully today. I don't know, we'll figure it out. There will be one follow-up email, with everyone's contact information, all the speakers' contact information, and just a lot of the good notes that people shared, like AI prompts and all those like things that everyone was like, wait, I didn't write it down. I want that. And then we will be editing this recording and sending that out additionally. So there will probably be at least 2 follow-up emails just with all the takeaways from this event. Yeah, so thank you everyone for being here. Was there anything else, Sisi?
No, that's it. And then we're going to move on to the networking breakout rooms again.